Welcome back to Learn SKN, and today we're looking at the May-June 2017 CXC economics paper. We're looking at question 6 now. We're looking at question 6. Previously, we looked at question 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and today we're going to finish the paper by looking at question 6, the last question on this paper. Alright, so before we jump into it, you know what to do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you know when we drop a next video for the next Econ past paper. Exam is rapidly approaching. Alright, good. So let's just jump right into it then. Define each of the following terms: market equilibrium, ceteris paribus. And so it's 2 marks each, so it's very straightforward. So market equilibrium is that point is the intersection of supply and demand, or the point at which supply and demand, the market forces of supply and demand, equal each other, where they meet. So where supply and demand equal each other within the market forces, that's what we call the market equilibrium. Where supply and demand intersect, where supply and demand meet, that's what you call the market equilibrium. And then ceteris paribus is a Latin phrase for all things remaining constant, or all things remaining, other things not changed, however you want to phrase it. But if you want to go to your textbook, then we can get a textbook answer for that one for ceteris paribus. In the textbook, you can see here the definition of ceteris paribus. And in the textbook, they have a Latin phrase meaning other things remaining constant, or if nothing else change. So all things remaining equal, all things remaining the same, all things remaining constant. That's what ceteris paribus mean. And of course, you know, the market forces are supply and demand, and where supply and demand intersect, you have what you call market equilibrium. So that's the answer for those two questions. Moving on. List 3 factors that affect the price elasticity of demand. 3 factors that affect the price elasticity of demand. And of course, you know, price elasticity of demand measures how demand changes from a percentage change in price. So that's price elasticity of demand. And of course, I did a video on elasticity. I did a whole video on elasticity, how to calculate it, everything. So you can check that video in the economics playlist to find the one on elasticity. So elasticity, factors affecting the price elasticity of demand. We have the price. Let me see what they said. List. They said just list. You don't have to explain, just a list. So you have the price of the goods, the number and closeness of substitutes for the commodity. So the number of close substitutes for that commodity, the price of the commodity as a percentage of total expenditure. So how much of your total spendings is the price of that good. Then you have adjustment for time. So those are all factors that affect your price elasticity of demand. Also, your habits and the degree of necessity of the good. Also, we have the number of uses of the good and the definition of the good. So all those are factors that affect the price elasticity of demand. And like I said, if you want a further explanation, look in the economics playlist for the elasticity lecture video. So this one only asks us to list, and so we get the 3 marks for listing. We ain't going overboard with it. Only 3 marks they ask for. Then we at C, the table for tamarind balls. So the question asks, look at the table, and they say identify the equilibrium price and quantity. So you look at the table, and we know equilibrium is where supply and demand are equal. So you scan the table and you look for where supply and demand are equal. So we have 8,000 demanded and 8,000 supplied. So we have the equilibrium price right here, which is $4. And then we have the equilibrium quantity, which is 8,000. Right? So 8,000 is the equilibrium quantity, and $4 is the equilibrium price. So you identify those two, and you get your 2 marks. Moving on. Some application questions now. Explain the situation that would exist in the market if the price is $5. So here we are. The price is $5, right? So the price is right here, $5. But what do you realize for $5? At $5, because the price gone up, you know, demand goes down, because the law of demand states that as the price go up, the demand for the commodity goes down. And so that happened right here. Price gone up, demand gone down. But quantity supplied now goes up because the price is high. So producers want to maximize their profit. And so they at the high price, they will supply 10,000 tamarind balls. So we established that. So what is happening right here? What will happen in the market? Now in the market, there'll be what you call a surplus. Why would there be a surplus? Because I can see it right here. At $5, demand is only 6,000. So when the 6,000 them purchase all that they want, you have 4,000 floating around in the market that nobody really wants for $5. Only 6,000. Only at 6,000 people are willing to clear the market. I mean, at 8,000 they're willing to clear the market. But when the price is at $5 more expensive, people only want 6,000. That's all. But demand supply, the producer supplying 10,000. So it end up with what you call a surplus in the market, where 4,000 would be floating around that nobody really want to buy at $5. So that's why the situation end up for that one. So explain the situation. The exit market at price is $5. You would have what you call a surplus because demand is less than supply. And so if demand is less than supply, or you can put it another way, supply exceeds demand, and so the remnant, the remainder, would cause a surplus on the market of 4,000. And then the other question I follow up, explain the situation that would exist in the market if the price is $1. So the flip side now, the reverse is also true. Now at $1, price is low, so demand is of course going to be high. 14,000 high. But because this is the lowest price, nobody really wants to supply for that lower price because some of them ain't even worth it to lock on the machine and make it timing balls because at $1, you know that ain't really paying you. So you're going to supply way less. And we see it here, where it is below the equilibrium price, right? It's below the equilibrium quantity. And so we have what we call a shortage, because now we realize that there's 14,000 in demand, so 14,000 people demanding 14,000, but the suppliers are only willing to supply 2,000. So after the 2,000 is used up, is exhaust, you still have 12,000 worth of demand out there, and so you will have a shortage of tamarind balls because supply done, 2,000 gone, but yet you have 12,000 unfulfilled, unsatisfied customers out there, or the demand is 12,000. Not going to be filled, and so you have what you call a shortage in the market, and so that's why we have a surplus and we have a shortage, and we say we arrived at both. Then we have the next question 5. After 10 years, the market for tamarind balls suddenly failed. Discuss 2 possible reasons for the failure. And so this is a beautiful question because this question is all about application. So we're looking at market failure right now. We're looking at so it's application right here. And so if we look at our textbook in chapter 13, market failure, we can look at some causes of market failure and try to apply them to the whole tamarind ball situation. So here we have some causes of market failure. So we have public goods, merit goods, externalities that can be negative or positive, and we have monopoly. But they're asking us for discuss 2 possible reasons for market failure. And so we're not going to look at public goods because tamarind ball would not be in any way, shape, or form a public good, right? Because, you know, based on what the definition of a public good is. And in a merit good, we're not going to even watch that either because a tamarind ball is not really in that category also. But we can watch any of these 3 here, the negative externality, positive externality, or monopoly. So let's look at the negative externality. So an externality is a cost or benefit to a third party, right? A cost or benefit to a third party of a certain transaction. So what they're saying is that you're not party to the transaction, but you're affected by the spillover. It's either negative or positive. So how can negative externalities cause the market to fail in tamarind balls? Now let's look at it like this. Tamarind is a tree, a plant. Now one of the biggest negative externalities out there, and as an example, is of course pollution. And so if pollution can lead to the destruction of ecosystems, plants, including tamarind trees. So that can cause a fall in the availability of tamarind, or maybe wipe out the tamarind. We don't know. It could be that extreme that it wipe out the tamarind. And because of that, the industry basically goes under because of this negative externality in pollution. Same way, you might have certain chemicals being used for other things, and it affects the tamarind tree, wipe out the tamarind tree, and the market fail. Same way, you can have somebody bringing in a certain insect or something, somebody else, and then that affects the tamarind plant, and you have problems. Basically, wipe out the industry. And so you can see it like that. So then, this they said overproduction too much. That's in relation to the transaction that you're not a part of. For example, if it is pollution, then it's overproduction of something that causes pollution. If it's the chemical destroying the soil or the air or whatever, it's because somebody is using too much of that chemical and that destroyed the tamarind plant. So we have a negative externality like that. Then we have positive externalities. Now this is a cost, in a benefit in a sense. Now how can this affect the tamarind ball market? Now let's look at it like this. What if someone decided to plant a lot of tamarind trees just like that? Right? A lot of tamarind trees just like that. And they are made readily available to anybody. So they're in a public space, public domain. And then the trees start, populating and a lot of trees end up there. Now all of a sudden, tamarinds are easy to get, easy to come by, as a person might go and start making their own tamarind ball now. Now for them, that's a positive externality because they have free tamarind basically. It's at their fingertips, and now they can actually use the tamarind to make tamarind balls. So what happened to the market for tamarind now? It gets oversaturated. Everybody making tamarind balls because this person decided to plant their stuff over there, but the third party can go now and access it almost like a public good, but it's not a public good, but it's still available to persons freely. And so people are able to get their tamarind, make their tamarind ball, and decide where I have to buy none because I'm making my own, and so therefore the market for tamarind would have failed, gone. Then of course you have monopoly. Now this one is where, you know what a monopoly is? When a firm has a dominant over an industry, or when there's one firm dominating an industry. And so what if all of a sudden one firm takes over all the tamarind production in the country? One firm, all the tamarind ball production in the country. Then right there we have a market failure right there. Because one firm buys up all the smaller firms that make tamarind balls, and then all of a sudden just one person is a go-to, one firm is a go-to for tamarind balls. And with that, you have a monopoly being established in the tamarind ball market. And so if there's a monopoly in a market, then the market would have failed. That's why we consider a market failure right there. So however you choose to spin it, you have about 3 different angles you can approach it from. They ask for 2, and you can explain it, and you can get the answers from that as to 2 possible reasons for the market for tamarind to suddenly fail. All right, so that's it for that question. And with that, that is the end of the May-June 2017 CSEC Economics Paper 2. So that's it for that paper. And so we're going to jump into a next paper next time when looking at economics. But the only how we know when we launch a next paper is to like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when Learn SKN drops the next chapter in the economics past papers. Alright, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.